Above So Below is way darker than you think. Hello. I love this movie. This was released in 2014. Bro, that's crazy. I think I've watched this movie like 4 or 5 times and with like different people because this is supposed to be like a scary movie, but it's not really that scary. I think like one or two jump scares always get me, but that's like near the end. But I love this story. Like I love the premise of this and how in depth like this could be real life. That's probably what this video is about where it's like, oh, this is real. But this genuinely like the thought process, this is kind of like Interstellar, like the math like in Interstellar. This is this movie but with like archaeology. So obviously I'm about to spoil like the entire movie, so if you don't want me to spoil it, then whatever. um but like it starts out with this is the main character, and she's like an archaeologist, and her dad was also an archaeologist, and he was trying to find like, I think it's called like the Philosopher's Stone or like a stone or something, because it could like cure all illnesses, and it can heal everything. I think that's what it was. And her dad died, and it was her. She was like, okay, I'm gonna find this stone and I'm gonna continue on with his work, right? It opens. I think the movie opens with like her in a cave, and there's this guy that's like, oh, don't get any further. They're about to like blow it up or whatever. But she finds this like Stone type thing, and it tells her the exact like location and like where the stone, the Philosopher's Stone, is, right? So she's like, okay, I know where it is, and it's in France in the catacombs. And if you don't know the catacombs, it's basically where like the French, like during the Black Plague, like the French people, so many people died that they ran out of space to put people, so they made an underground system, and there's like a million billion something bones down there, and that's where they put everyone, because it was like the streets were just lined with bodies, and they wanted to kind of, I don't know, they just needed somewhere to put it other than like burning them, because that also is rank. Okay. So she's like, okay, it's in the catacombs. So it's a vast like underground system, and a lot of spots aren't mapped out too, and you really need an experienced person to go down into the catacombs with you, or you will get lost. Like if you run out of batteries, if you run out of food, if you trip, if you get hurt, like you're cooked, like you're done, like you're trapped down there. So she finds these people, they know the catacombs, she goes underneath it with them, and the movie is really interesting. So this is what the movie title, like this is what it looks like, right? And the philosopher guy that like made this stone had a saying, as above so below. Like his belief was um as above so below. So the like below is hell and above is like heaven. So as above, as heaven, so below. And he's basically was saying like the deeper you go into like this cave system, you somehow end up like on top. I don't know what that means, but that's just what he was saying, and that's what the main character, her, she kept talking about. She's like, blue. She also is like crazy knowledgeable about like the philosopher and like his life and his living situation, and as she's trying to find the stone, there's a bunch of traps, but she's like super smart, so she's like, oh, I know what this is referencing, and like the sun and the moon or whatever. Like she's like hella smart, so she gets them through a lot of the trials. But as they go deeper and deeper, each one of the characters has like a guilt or like a sin, is kind of like the theme. And they like, as they go deeper and deeper, they're like fears in their guilt to like manifest into stuff. So like hers there's a scene where she is guilty about her dad dying, because her dad committed suicide, because he was so like, I don't know, he was just like, he was so deep into trying to find the stone that he would just like, it drove him mad, and he hung himself. And she feels guilt for not being there and not talking to him, being like, hey, like I can get you help, like it's okay, like she saw what he was going through, she didn't do anything, so that's her guilt. Another person's is like, there's a car on fire, and I'm guessing it's because like him and his friend got into a car accident, and like it was his fault, he was drunk driving or something. It doesn't tell you explicitly. There's another scene, like hers obviously is like explained, but the other people's really isn't. So I had to go on Reddit, and it had to like this is all just a theory, by the way, because it doesn't explicitly tell you, but like it had like Like these are like flashing images and stuff. Like one of them was like a car on fire, another one was like his brother drowned and he didn't like save him. Like he saw that his brother was drowning, he just left, and then his brother died. There was another one, like there was a baby crying at one point, and maybe like the theory was like, oh, like he made someone get an abortion, or he got someone pregnant and didn't, like he like disappeared or something. But yeah, like all of them die to like their fears or their guilt. And I just find that so interesting because they don't explicitly tell you. Like I had to go on Reddit. I love when movies do that. I love when movies are like, okay, infer like why this is happening. And also that like mystery and like trying to piece the clues together, like that's why I keep rewatching it, because I find stuff I'm like, oh, that references that and that references that, and that makes this makes so much more sense. But yeah, this movie is just, it's so peak. It's so good. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. It's not really scary, but it's very, very interesting, kind of the whole thing. Like, again, she explains everything so well that I'm like, this could be like real. Like that made me think like, this could be real. I think it's on like Tubi. The last time I watched it was on like Tubi. It was on Netflix at one point. As above, so below. Oh, you have to buy it. It's on YouTube. You have to buy it. That's kind of sad. It was on Netflix, but I guess they removed it because they're not cool. Okay. It's so good. It's so fire. Okay. Now that's my rant over.
As above, so below, the 2014 found footage horror movie. In this video we will be diving straight into what this film is really about. It's a journey that will take us to some terrifying places, and stay tuned.
Why is this like really low quality? Oh, it's because it's in 7080, 7020.
Because there are some details that might just change how you see the whole thing. Let us begin.
Let us begin.
Our protagonist is Scarlett Marlowe, an archaeologist who's continuing her deceased father's quest to find the Philosopher's Stone,
Bang!
a legendary alchemical substance.
It's an elusive substance that could turn base metals into gold and can provide the key to eternal life. The creation of the stone was the goal of alchemy, which was an early form of science which studied transformation in all its forms.
The Philosopher's Stone has a fascinating history. The earliest recorded reference to it is found in the writings of Zosimus of Panopolis, a Greco-Egyptian mystic. Around 300 AD, he wrote the following: "It is for these reasons that my excellent master Democritus..."
The only time I've ever heard of the Philosopher's Stone is in this movie and in Harry Potter. Like when the first time I watched this movie, when she was like, "Oh, the Philosopher's Stone," I'm like, in Harry Potter, like, is this an actual stone? Seriously? Yeah, he was talking about this. I thought this was like fake. Like I thought they made this up for the movie. I didn't know this was real. What? That's okay, no wonder. I was like, wow, this is like really they really go in depth with this. Oh my gosh.
Democritus himself distinguishes and says, "Consider this stone that is not a stone. This precious thing that has no value, this polymorphous object that has no form, this unknown thing that is known to all and has many names and yet no name. I am speaking of the Afroselinon." Zosimus is pointing to a kind of transformative substance, a stone that is not a stone. The quest for this stone expanded into the Middle Ages, and commentators began to argue that the stone actually had a much earlier origin, right back to Adam, the first human being. Vincent de Beauvais, writing in the 1200s, argued that Adam was the first teacher of alchemy, followed by Noah and other biblical figures, and this idea is greatly expanded in a 1620 anonymous German book called Gloria Mundi. Here's a great summary of it: "The longevity of Adam and the..."
This is so interesting because, like, in historical texts, like, the first thing that crosses my mind is, like, what if they just made this up? Like, what if a guy was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna, like, make this up and then have everyone on a quest to go find this because I'm bored. But, like, all of these texts, like, still referencing it before it was even referenced in his original text? It's kind of strange. Like, and it's across, like, different times, too. So, like, how did, like, they know? So that this has to be real.
The other antediluvian, that is pre-flood heroes of the Bible, was believed to have been due to the Philosopher's Stone. The author of Gloria Mundi writes that had Adam not possessed the knowledge of this great mystery, he would not have been able to prolong his life even to the age of 300, let alone 900 years. I don't know what you make of that. I don't know what I make of it, but it's fascinating to see how the understandings of the Philosopher's Stone intersect with understandings of the Bible. In alchemy, the scientific and the theological very much go together, and it's going to be interesting to see how those ideas and histories are brought into the film. Let's talk about Nicolas Flamel, because he is the key historic figure referenced by the film. He was a French alchemist who lived from around 1330 to 1418. And in the 1600s, people began to believe, kind of retrospectively, that he had discovered the Philosopher's Stone. According to one account, with the help of his wife, Nicolas Flamel had painstakingly decoded a copy of the Book of Abraham the Jew, and that provided the recipe for the Philosopher's Stone.
600 years ago, the greatest of the alchemists, Nicolas Flamel, lived here in this house in Paris. He was widely believed to have succeeded in developing the Philosopher's Stone, which would have given him all the wealth he could dream of, as well as eternal life. When grave robbers, hoping to get their hands on the Philosopher's Stone, tried to dig his body up out of the cemetery that used to surround this area here, they found his casket empty, as well as his wife's. Okay, so this is Nicolas Flamel's tombstone, which he designed and carved himself.
So this part of the film is rooted in some actual history. It seems
See, like, I didn't know that. Like, I thought they just, like, made this up. I guess it's too in-depth for them to make it up.
that Nicolas Flamel was suspected of faking his own death, and when his grave was dug up, it was indeed empty. Mysterious.
Okay, but,
tombstone-
like, other grave robbers could have gotten to his tomb before they did. Like, that doesn't really prove anything.
And depicted in the film is an actual artifact you can visit.
That's so cool.
At Musée de Cluny. The main text is in French and it says, "Alas, Nicolas Flamel, once a writer, has left by testament for the charity works of this church, some pensions and houses that he has obtained and bought when he was alive, so that each year a divine office should be performed and money should be distributed as alms in aid of the Quincy Vince, the Hôtel Dieu, and the hospitals of Paris. May people pray for the dead." Sorry, I'm probably butchering some of those French pronunciations. The Latin banner beneath says, "O Lord God, I have hoped in your mercy." And the final line of French beneath that says, "From earth I came and to earth I go back. My soul I give back to Jesus, who forgives sins." So that inscription isn't especially out of the ordinary for a Christian philanthropist from the time, but some believe that the symbols on the tombstone contain a hidden meaning.
My father believed that the clues to the location of the Philosopher's Stone were encoded somehow in these arcane symbols, but their meaning has remained a mystery until I discovered the fabled rose key. It's a kind of Rosetta Stone used for translating alchemical symbols into Aramaic, which unfortunately I don't speak. Luckily, I know a guy who does.
Yeah, she speaks like 9 languages or something. Like, this is crazy.
And
She's
jumping
crazy.
back a bit, that's how the film begins, with Scarlett searching for that rose key in Iran. And that sequence sets up everything to come. It introduces her as a daring, Indiana Jones-esque archaeologist, venturing underground in search of clues, putting herself and others at substantial risk, brushing against the supernatural, being haunted by visions of her father, who hanged himself. Characters in found footage films like this are often unprepared and naive, and when confronted with the horror, they often panic or make dumb decisions.
She is like steadfast. Like, she has like one goal and she will complete it, and she's like crazy smart. So she gets through literally every single obstacle, and she's just not afraid. She's like, I'm just gonna go. She's determined.
But Scarlett isn't like that. Yes, she gets scared, like any of us, but she solves the problems, finds what she's looking for, and gets out in the nick of time. This is who Scarlett is, and she knows it. There's some arrogance that needs to be humbled, but she's very much following in the footsteps of her father.
You remind me so much of your father. But Scarlett, you must be more careful. His quest was a path to madness.
So anyway, she finds the rose key, and that's an artifact that has been invented by the film. She uses it to decode Flamel's tombstone, and that reveals the location of the Philosopher's Stone, hidden in the catacombs of Paris.
Alchemists believed that the
You could not pay me to go into the catacombs. You could not pay me. That place is so scary and spooky, and there's like homeless people down there, which like, and there's squatters down there and stuff. Like and if you die down there, like that's scary. Like that in itself isn't scary. It's the fact that if you die down there, no one is going to find you. No one is going to find you. Because you like, it's so massive and so big that probably no one's gonna find you. Like, that's scary. No. Also, you have to like crawl through like those tight spaces. Have you seen those videos where it's like cave divers like crawling through spaces and they can't breathe? Like, if they breathe, they'll get stuck. So they have to like control their breathing. No. 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 No, and you gotta do that in the catacombs in some places. Like, absolutely not. You'll not catch me doing that. My big back cannot fit through that. No.
number of the devil was 741, then it makes sense that they would think that hell was 741 feet beneath the surface of the earth, right?
So halfway twixt.
So 370.5 feet beneath Flamel's tombstone is where we'll find the stone.
We will now be entering spoiler territory because I want to map out the tunnels visited by the characters in the film and explore the meaning of each section. But first, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. It really helps the channel. Thanks so much.
Flamel's grave was here.
With the catacomb map, would make it roughly... yeah.
Okay, so here's the original site of Flamel's grave.
Okay.
Here are the underground tunnels. Some are quarries and mines, and some are the ossuaries housing the bones of 6 million people.
Catacombs don't go under Flamel's grave.
But if we burrowed through this wall here,
No, you
in this
can't.
tunnel, there's sure...
The walls
there's gonna-
are-
If it'll collapse if you dig through a wall underground, it will collapse. There's no way.
be something...
Solid limestone. There's no way you can burrow in.
In total, the Paris catacombs span 300 kilometers,
Jesus.
but only a 1.5 kilometer stretch is open to the public.
Wait a minute. In 1774, about 100 feet of
I
evidence.
low-key would like to go on a tour through the catacombs though, but with a tour guide, okay? I'm gonna need like one in the front, one in the back, one in the middle, okay? And I need you to like hold my hand basically through the whole thing. Oh my god. I'd get so scared I'd get lost, bro. But it's so interesting though. Like it's so interesting.
D'Enfer Rochereau was literally swallowed up into the ground by the city.
Indeed it was, and it was known as the Mouth of Hell sinkhole.
A couple years later, the same thing happened. Barrière d'Enfer, right there.
Barrière d'Enfer means Gate of Hell, and it's a pair of toll houses, actually at the southern end of the avenue, so I'm not sure why George plots it to the north, but I guess the point isn't geographical accuracy. The film is imagining that there was a sequence of street collapses progressing northwards.
Followed by a third collapse. Rue des Innocents.
And I did actually find records of a historic collapse in that third region he mentions.
Well, it goes through... Nah, that doesn't work. That doesn't work either. No, wait, if you go this way, it works. If you go like... That's kind of...
The retaining wall in the Holy Innocents Cemetery crumbled in 1780, and that led to decaying human bodies pouring into the neighbouring basement.
Oh my
But the
God.
inference from those 3 collapses, partially rooted in actual history, but the inference from those 3 collapses in the film is that maybe there is a hidden underground chamber extending all the way to Flamel's grave. So they team up with some cataphiles, explorers of
It's kind of there, you know, it's on the edge. You know?
the catacombs, and they begin their descent through an access point on a train track, pretty close to the public catacomb museum. And just to get our bearings, at the end of the movie, the survivors from this group emerge from a manhole on the southern bank of the Seine, about here. But the underground journey between those 2 points is a metaphysical one. with different stages inspired by the 9 circles of hell in Dante's Inferno, the first part of his poem, The Divine Comedy, written in the 1300s. First, our characters enter the vestibule. They encounter a cult of women singing and a paradoxical tunnel. It takes them in a loop. Here they are wanderers, trapped outside judgment. And this forces them to take the more direct route to the stone, which is what Scarlett originally suggested. But Papillon is reluctant because his friend La Toupe.
Papillon means butterfly, and the only reason I know that is because in the live-action Cinderella movie, Cinderella's dad comes back with a butterfly, and he goes, "This is un papillon," and she goes, "Papillon, papillon," and they, like, wave it. It's like a stick butterfly thing. It's really cool, but yeah, I had it. Yeah.
Entered this tunnel and never returned. Anyway, they push forwards and pass a sign which says Barrière d'Enfer, Gate of Hell. This is reminiscent of how, in Dante's Inferno, the first circle of hell begins with Acheron, and that's a name from Greek mythology, the entrance to the underworld. And the first circle of hell itself is a place called Limbo. So what happens here? Well, the characters encounter initial reminders of their past sins, as it were. George finds the piano he played with his brother Danny before he died.
Yikes.
Scarlett picks up a ringing phone, and it's the voice of her dead father.
Why would you talk to me, Scarlett?
Now, they're rattled by these experiences, but at this stage they're not truly reckoning with them. They then encounter Papillon's lost friend La Toupe, who seems to have been just wandering this tunnel. Here in Limbo, he's experiencing a kind of aimless existence rather than torment, but he leads them onwards. At this stage, he's a bit like Charon, the figure from Greek mythology who ferries souls to the underworld. He tells them that the only way out is down.
Oh, that's
The only
fire.
way out is down.
So this journey, if it is to lead them back to the surface, it will plumb some very deep depths first. It's a kind of death and resurrection shape, this story. Now in Dante's Inferno, the second circle of hell is the place where the lustful are tormented. Then the third circle is for the gluttonous. And I can't tell if these two circles are clearly depicted and distinguished in the film. I think it kind of blurs and mixes up the circles in some cases. But you do hear some growling, which is probably evoking Cerberus, the three-headed hound of Hades who prevents the dead from escaping the underworld in Greek mythology. The characters then enter the fourth circle, greed. And that is clearly depicted. There's a Templar knight whose body has been eerily preserved. It's a kind of unnatural preservation, clinging onto the current flesh rather than letting it pass away as it should. He was perhaps originally a threshold guardian, like the knight in the Last Crusade, because beyond him is a chamber containing the Philosopher's Stone, alongside a ton of gold. And this chamber judges the greedy, because when Papillon tries to steal the gold, the ceiling collapses, crushing La Toupe. Then they pass into the fifth circle, Wrath. And from this point they're experiencing a mirrored version of what came before. So they're in the gold chamber once again, but it has been corrupted and distorted. The water they pass through is probably a representation of the river Styx, which is depicted in Dante's Inferno. But in Dante's story, the sixth circle is where the heretics are tormented. And in the film, we seem to get a brief reference to that, actually back in the greed circle. After spotting the treasure, Scarlett then turns, and can you see in the background there some doorways illuminated by fire? Well, those might be depictions of the burning heretic tombs in the city of Dis, described in Dante's Inferno. And that's actually the boundary between upper and lower hell. The seventh circle is violence, and it has 3 stages. First, violence against one's neighbour, represented by La Toupe killing Suxi. Did he die and has now returned as some kind of spirit? Was it always a spirit? It's ambiguous, but there's this kind of vengeful nature to it. Papillon goes for the gold. It results in La Toupe getting crushed, and La Toupe takes the one who Papillon loves, Suxi. So that's violence against one's
Oh,
neighbour. Violence against
yo.
oneself is represented by the visions of Scarlett's father hanging himself.
Okay.
And violence against God, that's the third stage. Not so obvious in the film, but perhaps it's represented by the occultic symbols on the walls. Now, the eighth circle is quite complicated. It's called Malabolg, the evil ditches in which fraudsters are punished. And it's here that Benji, the cameraman, meets his demise. He is startled by the appearance of a mother and her baby.
Yeah, see, that
and
was
he
confusing.
falls to his death. This could be a reference to the first two ditches of the eighth circle, which are pandering and flattery in Dante's
Seducers?
Inferno.
Okay.
Papillon's fate is reminiscent of the third ditch because we hear a trumpet sound referencing the following line from Dante. Now it
Well,
behooves
Benji, oh my god, that makes so much sense that he's like flattering and like seducers, and he died to that woman and the kid, or because he fell. Because in the beginning of the film, he was flirting, he was like staring at this like really gorgeous woman, right? And he had the camera, and he like zoomed in on her and stuff, and it was kind of weird. And there was like another instance where he was like talking to a girl or something, so that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
for you the trumpet sound because in this third Bolgia trench ye abide. This third trench is for the Simonists, those who practice the buying and selling of church benefits. So perhaps it's fitting that Papillon dies here because he seems to care more about the physical treasure than the spiritual nature of this quest.
Interesting.
So the references to Inferno are one thing, but given what we find out later on, the particular spirits who come to judge Benji and Papillon, they're probably representations of their past sins.
Yeah,
In
that's
fact,
what I was
they must
talking
be,
about.
because when Papillon sees a man in a burning car,
Yep.
he says, "It's not my fault." So clearly that's something from his past that he is suppressing, denying. Then there's the ninth circle. We're getting there, folks. In Dante's Inferno, this contains Cocytus, the frozen lake where traitors are trapped. And indeed, in this point in the film, it gets very cold. You can see their breath. And for this final part, I'll quote directly from a Reddit post I found because I think it provides a really nice summary
I
of
think
the
I read
various symbolism going on here. Satan appears seated on a throne rather than frozen in ice. The three robed figures hunting the characters represent Judas Iscariot, Antenor, and Ptolemy. Whale demons are embedded in the stony surroundings, echoing the frozen souls of traitors in Cocytus. Cain appears as a wool demon biting George.
Kane from the Amazing Digital Circus? No way, he's here. What?
Symbolizing the betrayal of kin. George failed to save his brother from drowning. And I'll just add here that when George gets bitten, Scarlett realizes that the Philosopher's Stone in her possession is actually a false stone. She obtained it from the Greed Circle.
Yeah.
So she has to go all the way back and return it, and in doing so, she learns that the power of the stone...
See that?
...back and return it, and in doing so, she learns...
Like, that's just creepy. That's so creepy. I don't like
that
that.
the power of the stone now dwells within her. She
Right.
herself is able to heal George. It is as if she has to give up the stone in order to truly obtain the stone. And you see this kind of
It was
apparent...
kind of like that scene in what's it called? That panda movie where he's trying to get like the scroll and then he like opens it and it's just a mirror. It's you. It's you. You are the Dragon Warrior. Yeah, the Dragon Warrior. That's what he was trying to find. What was it called? What was it called? Why am I blanking on that? Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's a panda movie.
paradox. In the words of Jesus himself, whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. Back to that Reddit post. The final descent of Scarlet, George, and Zed into the pit mirrors Dante and Virgil's escape from Inferno. The trio confronts their guilt and confesses their sins, symbolically repenting as they descend further, a moment that echoes Dante's passage through Satan's body, where downward movement turns into ascent and marks the start of spiritual transformation. Yes, and just on this confession point, so these characters are confessing their past sins. For Scarlet, that means saying sorry to a vision of her father for ignoring his phone call. When she does that, he disappears, and that releases her from the guilt. George's confession is that he failed to rescue his younger brother from drowning. And I'm wondering if that might be a deliberate inversion of the classic Christmas film, It's a Wonderful Life. Because in that film, there's a flashback where a character called George succeeds in rescuing his younger brother from drowning.
George saved his brother's life that day.
Finally, there's Zed, the third survivor in this film, and he confesses that he has a child who he abandoned. So those three confess their past sins. And looking back, Papillon dies because he refuses to confess.
Yeah, he just says
denies
it's not
any
my
wrongdoing and then gets swallowed up.
Yeah.
It seems reasonable to predict that Benji and Suxi also die because they deny responsibility for their sins. So you could say that the film is about the healing that can come through confession. Back to that Reddit post. In the Divine Comedy, this turning point leads to forgiveness and a second chance granted by God. Likewise, the pit in the film isn't an ending, but a threshold functioning as a space of penitence rather than damnation.
Fire.
Biblically, confession of sins is important, and it's part of something bigger, because repentance means confessing sin and turning away from it.
Yeah.
But it also means something positive. It means turning towards Christ.
Yes.
And in this film, you get the confession aspect, but it's not exactly clear what these characters are called to do positively. How are they now meant to live back on the surface? Because undoubtedly they'll sin again.
Yeah.
To whom should they confess? Where will they find true and lasting forgiveness?
In
the
each
film
other?
leaves it ambiguous. It's a fascinating film, and I don't think the filmmakers are trying to say that these characters have actually gone to hell and back, because we seem to witness people dying in this underground realm. So it's not an afterlife. I think it's really an elaborate supernatural escape room which has been constructed to protect the Philosopher's Stone. Perhaps it's even been generated by the stone itself. And seekers of the stone must pass through this intense ordeal in order to obtain it. And of course, it's a journey that references hell, or hell as Dante describes it, but I don't think it's actually meant to be hell. Now, the film's ending raises all sorts of questions. Scarlet, George, and Zed resurface in Paris after their ordeal, and my first thought was, oh no, is this really Paris? Or is this still some shadowy, purgatorial version of Paris? I was expecting them to discover that the city is completely deserted, or something jumps out, or some detail to suggest that things are still off. And that's an interesting theory, but as far as I can tell, they really are back in Paris. And I suppose if they didn't make it back, then why do we have their footage? Surely it would be lost with them. Another question. Does Scarlet still have those healing powers?
Yes, see, that's what I want to know too. Like, does she still have it, or is it just, like, what does she do with it if she does? Like,
surfaces. Is she now the Philosopher's Stone? Or was that power only momentarily granted to her while they were underground?
Because God willed it, or something.
No, she sets out on this quest looking for the Philosopher's Stone, and she finds it. But it seems that really the quest is about her coming to terms with the death of her father. And I suppose also the restoration of her relationship with George, which has been quite fraught for much of the film. So this whole thing about it's a stone that's not a stone, what she comes away from this experience with is not a physical stone. She may now have miraculous powers as a result, but she may not. What she has come away with is spiritual transformation, and that's really the point of that journey. So it's kind of unique to have a found footage film with alchemical logic.
Yeah,
that's the weird combination of this movie. It purports to be gritty documentary footage, but really it's a much more metaphysical, spiritual...
And it references a lot of things, and it brings in a lot of things, and it's such a good movie. Oh my god, it's so good.
Journey. Let's give Scarlet herself the last word.
People say that I'm some kind of treasure hunter. It's not what I'm after. I'm not doing this for financial gain. I'm a student of history, of alchemy. It would be of great historical value.
So you simply want the truth?
Exactly. Yeah, I want the truth.
Well, there we go. As above, so below. Thanks for recommending this film to me. Lots of people were saying in the comments that I should check it out, so I really appreciate that, and I'm glad to have covered it on the channel. Do subscribe if you'd like to stay in the loop with my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's deeper than you think.
Oh, fire. Bang. Subscribed. Are we still in here? Hell? Worse, we're in Paris. So quite literally, the real Philosopher's Stone is maybe the friends we made along the way. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Woman staring at them as she walks by outside the club, and later she's the woman who's leading the ritual, and the woman who pushed Benji. So, that kind of all comes together.